Good morning, MFs, my friends. That's what that stands for. I don't want YouTube to get upset with me again. This is earlier than I ever thought that I would live stream a video. It is 9:30 a.m. my time. I'm on the East Coast. I'm in Maine. So it's even earlier. Some of you guys who are in other places of the United States, of course. And for you guys, it might be quite early. I mean, it might be as early as 6:30 in the morning out there on the West Coast. And if you're getting up at 6:30 in the morning or 7 in the morning just to see what Arrow has announced, I need to know because I wouldn't do it. I would keep sleeping if it were me. However, I have a parental sense of guilt. Even though my children are currently out of town visiting the farm, nonetheless, that parental sense of guilt hits at about 8 a.m. and I have to get my ass out of bed. So I thought, why not do a live stream? I'm essentially off today. I have some classwork to do a little bit later, but why not to live stream Arrow's announcements? They're going to make their announcements at 10 is the rumor. I suppose I probably can't sue them. We can't band together and form a class action lawsuit against them if they don't make their announcement right at 10. We'll hang out. We'll hang out here for like an hour. I can yap for at least an hour, completely unscripted and off topic. That's not usually a problem for me whatsoever. So we'll yap until the announcements come in, unless the announcements come super late. If Arrow really Fs me, then I don't know. This whole video will feel very silly, but it won't be the first time I've recorded something on YouTube and then just felt wicked silly. We got Jeff is number one, not just in the chat, but also in my heart. John Doe Juggalo, what's good, my dog? How them blood sugars, man? I hope you're feeling well. I hope you're taking good care of yourself. I am as well. I had a G7 that totally messed up on me the other day. I put it in and I couldn't get it to finish its warm-up period. And I finally had to yank it off. It kept failing. It failed like 3 times. Brand new G7 sensor. I need to call Dexcom about that today and complain because I need you guys to send me a new sensor, dog. Like, I'm not available for refills yet, and I only got one left. So I have heard rumors that those G7s fail a lot. This is completely unrelated to physical media, and I'm sorry, guys, but I'm also a type 1 diabetic, and I'm proud of it. It's part of my life. So time to get educated on G7s. I heard they fail a lot. I've only been using the G7 for like a month and a half, and I've already had one fail, like right out of the box. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Come on. Anyway, Jeff, peace, man. I'm happy to see your face. I'd love to see your face. What up, sucker? What up, sucker? I think you guys can use the F words. I think. So I would like to welcome you to call me even worse than a sucker if you want. I think it's just me that YouTube has a problem with saying the F word. I have heard YouTubers with literal millions of followers and, you know, hundreds of thousands of views on videos say the F word. And I'm like, I can't say the F word. You always going to throttle the fudge out of me because I like saying the F word. Meanwhile, this dude over here talking about Peter Pan having a vagina and saying the F word, he's allowed to have 1.5 million subscribers. It doesn't make sense to me. It offends me a little bit because I like to think I'm funnier than that, but whatever. Maybe my head is up my own ass. But what up, BMG 501? What up, sucker? What up, Playboy? Hey, dude. Guys, I'm very pleased to announce we got a guest, a surprise guest, just hopping in from wherever he be on the road. He's not even at home. I am being joined by none other than the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend. Heard his penis is about this big. Chase from AVA Pop Culture is joining us live here on the live stream on a Friday morning. Where are you, Chase? There you are. How's it going, man?
What's up? Look at I am in a hotel room
Chase.
at Disney World.
There we go.
So there you go. Wearing a
So you're at
Disneyland shirt to add extra confusion.
That's awesome. That's like you should wear your Universal shirt to Disneyland and your Disneyland shirt to Universal because you can't wear the band. Like if you go to a concert, you can't wear the shirt of the band. You have to
hmm
you have to be like the cool kid who's like, I don't even like music, but I'm here at this concert.
Oh, we walk around all day since we've been here carrying our universal refillable water, insulated water cup that Risha carries on her shoulder. So it's like Universal's Halloween Horror Nights as you're tooling around the Magic Kingdom with Mickey Mouse, and it's like, that's right, that's right.
Yeah, that's right, Mickey. So how's the weather down there? Is it wicked hot? Is
You
it,
know, it is actually not as bad here as it is in Georgia because the humidity is not here right now,
okay,
and there's a breeze. Even in
yeah,
Orlando, there's a breeze. Whereas, being from Georgia, you walk outside and there's not a breeze all the time, especially metro Atlanta area.
yeah, it's
You've got
oppressive.
all these big trees, your mountains on one side. You walk from your house to your car, and it's like you just walk through a steam room. So it hasn't been like that here. Hey,
Well,
BMG, what's up, man?
yeah, BMG in the hizzy. Called me a sucker, though. I don't know if I should be hurt or not.
Sucka.
Called
So
me a sucker.
any have you talked? I know I was on here, hopped on a little late. Have you talked about any of the guesses of what's dropping? I mean, that's got to be
No.
Creepshow too,
I've
right?
really been just kind of killing the first couple of minutes to sort of let people join. I haven't really gotten into anything. I was actually complaining about being a diabetic for a minute and how one of my
Oh, really?
sensors failed. Yeah, I was just, I was saying what's up to Jeff and whatnot. And yeah, so I haven't really even gotten into it, but I'm hoping that Arrow has something good for us because we're we're here in the morning live. And if it's like a normal kind of uneventful release, then I'm just gonna be like, "Cool, guys, thanks for hanging out." Like,
Yeah. Well, Creepshow 2 would be big. Like, I mean, for
yeah,
me personally, I think a lot of people out there because I mean, that's what the raft thing looks like to me from that
yeah,
segment. But I've been waiting on getting that 4K, hoping it would come out since they had the big out of print chunky box of
yeah,
Creepshow 2, which if you go look on eBay, 200, 300, $400 for that thing.
yeah. What's up,
So,
Brent? How you doing, man?
Brent, what's up, man?
Yeah, you got the same last name as my, well, you got your last name is my second daughter's first name. How about that? I love that name, Madison, and it kinda makes me wanna smooch you on the forehead, so, good morning to you, sir. I'm hoping for Creepshow 2 as well. Arrow occasionally does steel books, so I'm actually hoping that they do a steel book for Creepshow 2. I hope that Arrow is smart enough to know, okay, Scream has Creepshow 1, and they released it in 4K on a steel book, what was it, like a year and a half ago or so? Regardless, it's been out for a little bit. I'm hoping Arrow does that thing. I think Scream or Shout kind of did it to them with RoboCop 2. They did a RoboCop 2 steelbook, so it's like I could put my RoboCop 2 steelbook from Shout right next to my RoboCop steelbook from
Uh-huh.
Arrow, at least if I'm going in order for my steelbook collection, which I do. I go in alphabetical order. So I could put Creepshow 2 right next to my Creepshow steelbook. If Creepshow 2 comes only in something like a limited edition chunky box or something like that, then they're not going to be able to live next to each other on my shelf because obviously Creepshow has to go with the steel books. Creepshow 2, if it's a chunky box, will have to go with my Arrow chunky boxes. And this is really like the type of problems I deal with mostly.
They have they ever, I don't know why I'm blanking on this. Have they ever put a steel book inside the chunky box?
Yeah, I think
Have
they
they
did
ever
for
done
True
that?
Romance. I think they did that for True Romance and
You
possibly
know, you
even
might be right.
Wild Things. But that's just me trying to
Ah,
go off the
Wild
top of my
Things for
head.
sure. Wild Things for sure. I have the Wild
Yeah,
Things. You're right. There's two different True Romances. I'm trying to remember. I have the one with the
yeah.
original art that people like better than the second one.
The second one
I'm
has
trying to
like
remember if that one.
the drawing or the painting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't love that one either. I kind of don't blame people for not. But I remember, I think I thought about getting the True Romance steelbook. I still haven't, but like it was just bopping around on sale for like so long that I was like, "Ah, I'll just get it later." And I just never did.
Much to kill our buddy Brian's heart. I like that movie. I don't like it as much as everyone else seems to. Like, I
I'm
mean,
with
I,
you.
I like it,
Yeah,
but I don't, it's people like hold it way up here. And I'm like,
yeah. Yeah, I obviously
I
don't
like
like
it.
it that much, otherwise I would have bought the steelbook when it was on sale at a very reasonable price during, like, the last several Arrow sales, but I didn't, and it's like, it's an okay movie, it's a fine movie. Um, I, of course, being kind of a edgy shitlord who likes like tasteless humor, I love the exchange between Dennis Hopper and Christopher Walken.
Oh,
That whole
yeah, I
scene
knew
is
where
like,
you're going. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, like,
that scene is
I will go so far as to say that when my children and I are playfully insulting each other, I do pull out insults from that conversation. I'm like, "You're part eggplant. You're a cantaloupe," and stuff like that. Like, they'll call me a whatever, like a poopy diaper or something. We'll go back and forth. We'll exchange insults. I'm trying to teach them how to, fend for themselves. I see that we're dropping live viewers now that I've admired the most racist scene in True Romance. I revealed that as my favorite. People are like, "I'm out." Okay,
well, that's the one scene I can tell that it looks like. I mean, Tarantino wrote the
mm,
movie. That's the scene that it looks to me in the movie that they didn't mess with as much.
yeah.
That one is how he wrote it. I feel like there's others that Tony Scott kind of tweaked on a little bit. It might be wrong, but that one is 100% him.
Yeah, that felt like his style, his writing, A character has to get himself killed, so, like, be racist towards the Sicilian guy and hope to trigger his temper. Um, Brent just got Sorcerer. I'm looking forward to getting the 4K of Sorcerer. I'm a
So
Friedkin
the
fan.
sale officially started today. Then it
I think
did.
so,
Uh,
because it would make
I'm
no
gonna
sense to go to Best Barnes& and Noble if the sale wasn't on.
I'm
Wait
gonna
a
try to
couple of
hit
days.
some random out of the way Barnes and Nobles on the drive back from Georgia or
Mm,
to Georgia tomorrow. I'm leaving really early in the morning, and we're trying to prop this thing up a little bit.
yeah. No, that's a good
I'm
idea.
leaving. I'm leaving really early in the morning. I'm driving by myself.
Oof.
Me and Richard drove separate, so I'm going to hit every little random Barnes and Noble that I can find
That is the
on the way
good
back.
news about driving separate from your wife. I used to love long, road trips. I used to love going on a road trip, but usually when I was, I don't know, when I was 18, 19, 20, and going on road trips, it was with a couple of friends, like you and the boys, you'd all hop in the car, you'd drive from Georgia to Florida. I've driven to Key West a couple of times for New Year's with my boys, and that's fun because you got like 4 other dudes, 3 other dudes kind of in the car, and you're fucking around, you're enjoying yourselves. But man, solo, and as I've gotten older, it's definitely like my endurance for that kind of thing has gone down. So I applaud you, but also the 2 things that I love about like solo road trip is A, I get to eat wherever I want. I don't have to worry about whatever anybody else in the car wants. They're like, I don't want to eat at Panda. So shut up, we're getting Chinese. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to eat at a random roadside buffet in Ocala, Florida. Yeah, well, we're eating Chinese buffet in Ocala, Florida. And I don't care what happens to my insides after that because I like Chinese buffet. And then number 2 is that, you can make stops along the way. If I'm driving through North Carolina solo, better believe I'm stopping at Orbit DVD. I'm also stopping at John Doe Juggalo's house. And we're going to play Switch 2 all night long. We're going to stay up drinking Red Bulls and playing Switch 2. That's what's up, John Doe Juggalo. We got Frank Sanchez in the house. Frank!
Uh,
Moving
Evening,
in
morning, afternoon.
the room. Yeah,
It's
it's
Frank.
I don't know, Frank might be in Europe, and, that would explain the afternoon bit, but I'm not sure of Frank's time zone, but hello, Frank, and I hope you are well. So what is Arrow putting out? I don't know. I guess we'll find out in, like, 10-ish minutes. Are they ever late, Chase? Do you know if they're ever late?
They were late the first month when the time changed, when we sprung
Oh,
forward. They didn't, because I was on there. I did a video, I had to edit the hell out of it because
yeah,
they were an hour late because they forgot to account for that. I'm like, how the
yeah,
hell do you forget to account for that? But usually, no, usually it'll drop within a minute or two
okay.
of the time. That's the only time I know of them being late.
Yeah, 'cause, I did think this morning as I was here, "Oh, UK. Alright, well, that's not the Frank Sanchez I was thinking of. Okay, cool, man, UK. It is afternoon. Fish and chips time, dog. Although we do that over here in New England as well. I live in New England, so we're almost like England bros, right? I'm in the New England, you're in the old England, but we could both have fish and chips for lunch today and watch an Arrow movie tonight while, holding hands across the Atlantic, and I'd like for that kind of brotherly love to be the mission of Pop Culture Mass as a channel. So
I
So
could go
Creepshow
to
too.
Epcot and go to the UK Pavilion and have some
Mm,
fish and
fish and
chips in the
chips.
UK Pavilion.
Yes, that's a good idea too. I don't know how the food is at Disney. I haven't been to Disney since maybe the early 90s.
It's,
So,
especially like Epcot, because you do the World Showcase and you go around to like the different countries, and they have like the people from those countries work in those countries only, and
okay.
everything is like imported in. So you like step into those countries.
Yeah.
The food in Epcot is next level. It's a foodie
Okay.
paradise. Magic Kingdom, it's all kids like chicken fingers, hamburgers, you know, all
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
it's
But
like the only place in the world
Epcot
where
is a drinking and eating paradise for
that's what I'm talking
adults.
about.
Like
I love that. Um, but it's like $35 for a thing of Dino Nuggies, right?
it's actually not as bad as
Okay.
people think it is.
I'm clenching my butt cheeks for the food. Like, I understand Disney's gonna be expensive, and I have encouraged my wife, she's like, "Well, it's only gonna be like, 1,000 bucks, 2,000." I'm like, "No, we need to save." I don't know, I was like, "I wanna go loaded because if we come back with money, it's not like I can't just, like, put that in one of my, um, like, if you save $10,000 for a trip and you spend 7, then, like, it's not like, oh, I've got 3,000 I can't do anything with. Like, I have an account that I could quickly put that in that makes a pretty decent interest, and, like, okay, I could just put that money into the savings account or whatever, and I don't know. So I was encouraging her. I was like, "We need to save, like, a boatload," but I'm also thinking the food is probably gonna be what upsets me the most, or maybe the T-shirts. I saw my
the
buddy,
fruit.
I got a buddy who lives in Tampa, and he goes all the time, and he showed me a picture of a T-shirt that was $70 for a T-shirt.
Oh yeah, he got the what they call the spirit jersey T-shirt. I mean, there's definitely because I'm an independent like freelance. I work for like a travel agency freelance for Disney and Universal. So
Cool.
and I have the other channel where I've randomly started covering them a couple years ago. Uh, it all depends on how, like right now they have a thing where you can stay at some of these hotels on the property for $120 a night. And if you buy a package for the hotel and the tickets, you get a dining plan for free. So you get
Cool.
each person's going to get like a sit down table, restaurant, a quick service restaurant, and a snack every day included
That's
in the
nice.
package, which is
I like that.
insane.
I
We tried the dining plan last time we were here. It was the first time I had ever done it. It's so much food, we couldn't even keep up with it all. Like,
okay, that's
couldn't even
awesome.
keep up with eating it all.
I feel like if I prepay for food, you could charge me the same amount. You could charge me $35 for a kid's meal, and if I've prepaid for it and you've hidden it under the guise of, like, this is you're paying for the room and it's bundled with the ticket that you're gonna have for Magic Kingdom that day, and, so we're bundling all of these things together, and we're gonna throw in the food for free. I mean, it's obviously that cost is padded out in other you got an MBA, I don't need to tell you this, but they pad
Yeah.
the cost out in other areas, and then they call the thing free just because it's not a line item on the receipt that you're being charged for or whatever. To me, that like I understand that it's not like the food is free and they're making a loss on it. They're recouping that, or they wouldn't stay in business. But like in my brain, I'm like, okay, so I'm not
Well,
getting
it's
a
like
receipt for two kids meals that cost me $73 plus tax. So like in my brain, it makes it all okay, even if I did pay $73 plus tax for those two kids meals. If it's hidden, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind, and it won't bother me.
yeah, it's kinda like going on a cruise. But, like, I will say, like, Risha and her mom came up with her 2 nieces who are, what, 5 and 9, and we had a
Okay.
sit-down meal in Magic Kingdom the other night. It was $84 for 5 people.
That's
So
not bad.
two under 10 kids and 3 adults, $85.
Yeah, I
So,
feel like if I took my 2 kids, my wife and I, and then maybe my dad or her dad, and we all went to McDonald's, the 5 of us, I could probably get our bill up to $84 at
yeah,
McDonald's. So,
yeah, because food prices outside of here have gone up so much,
yeah.
like, we ate Taco Bell, the 2 or Del Taco, the 2 of us was $34
Oh,
at
yeah.
Del Taco.
Del Taco,
So,
that's
Yeah, I'm like, "Wait,
personally.
34 bucks at a taco place, you used to be able to get all the food for, like, you
Oh
and
yeah.
5 friends."
Oh yeah.
Not so you don't really notice it. I was like even I was surprised. I looked over, I was like, $84? That's it?
30
For a
I
5
remember back
meal?
in the day, I'm old enough to remember when $35 at Taco Bell would feed you for like a month and a half.
Dude,
Like, I'm
you
eating for
couldn't yeah,
6 weeks.
you could feed a football team off 35 bucks at Taco Bell.
I know, I used to love it. That's actually one of the things about fast food that's really, like, on top of the my industry, my profession, and then also, like, the fact that, fast food is just god awful for you, processed food, but, like, it's the one thing that's kind of chased me off of even, like, better choices, like, grilled chicken sandwiches that you can get at some places and things like that. It's just it's like, I can make this at home for half the price. Like, I can literally go
Uh,
get chicken breast, and if I really felt like it, I could, like, hand dredge it and fry it and make a crispy chicken sandwich pretty not terribly difficultly, and it just so food's
and
been
now you
kinda
can
killing
air
me
fry
lately.
them. You
Yeah,
can air fry them and make them even healthier.
yeah, yeah. Well, we're getting close. It's 9:56. We're almost there, guys. Do you have any have
Definite
they I
anticipation.
know, right? But we think Creepshow 2. We both agree on that. I think that yellow sort of floating dock thing, I think that's a Creepshow 2 reference pretty clearly. Although I know Arrow has had in the past maybe issues where they've they've dropped a hint and it's like only been very obliquely related and people have been like, "What the hell? I totally thought it was something different." But I think we all think Creepshow 2. They got Creepshow 2 in the UK also, right?
Yeah, they're gonna do it in both. According to Cliff
Yeah.
McMillan, when they drop it, that's gonna be both. But I did see a lot of people say that's Freddy versus Jason. They're thinking about just that, like, opening scene where the girl runs out on the dock, like, gets naked
Oh,
and runs out on the dock where Jason is dreaming, and I'm like,
okay.
I don't know about that. Like, that's a stretch for that, but who knows with Arrow? I would s the one thing that's throwing me a bit is Cliff McMillan in his interview with, CHH had said that he thought that, Creepshow 2 wasn't coming until November or December.
Okay.
And that was just
So
like a month ago. So he'd
yeah,
be way off or he was deliberately trying to throw everyone off.
he could have been trying to throw everybody. I mean, Freddy versus Jason is another good guess because they've released the other New Line Cinema um, Jason movies recently, and it feels like now would be a good time for Freddy versus Jason because it would build some, they'd be building off of that momentum that they've. I guess it's been about a year since they released the Friday the 13th remake, but Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X just came out fairly recently. People have been picking those up. I know I myself picked those up. I don't know, like a month or so ago. I've already watched them. You picked them up probably a little bit longer ago than that, but it feels like there's been a lot of online chatter, on YouTube and stuff where people have been talking about the Jason X and Jason Goes to Hell releases where it's sort of in the zeitgeist and now might be a good time to strike with Freddy versus Jason and put that out while everyone's still thinking about those other titles and in the mood to complete their collection maybe.
Well, I would say and then I kept thinking that, and then the whole like hiccup to that was Cliff also said that they didn't have the rights to that yet. So,
Oh,
like,
well,
interesting.
that is interesting. That feels like they would have negotiated for that at the same time as the other New Line Jason films, right? I mean, that seems to fit in like I mean, it's right after it's just a couple of years after Jason X came out. They did Freddy versus Jason, so it feels like and then that's your perfect transition over into the Freddy remake if they're gonna do that one, as the rumor has been.
I'm still rolling with I was seeing if it was up yet. I'm still rolling with Creepshow too.
Yeah,
I still think that rap the rap is my favorite segment. I'm still rolling with Creepshow
yeah.
too.
I'm hoping it's
Um,
Creepshow 2. Although I do
Me
wanna
too.
watch Freddy versus Jason in 4K. I'm excited about that. I don't remember loving that movie, and it's been a long time since I've seen it. I tried to rewatch it last October, and I think I made it about halfway through before I fell asleep. I mean, passed out, but, I mean, fell asleep. But I made it about halfway through, and so I do wanna watch it, but, because I don't have Hulu
I will
anymore.
say I just watched it recently in all these rankings, and it did slide down just a hair for
Yeah.
me. But overall, but I still like it. I mean, it's
I
Freddy
think
versus Jason. Come on.
yeah, that's why I gave it a lot of credit because it's like, this is like somebody took seriously this mashup that every kid in like 1989 was like, I want to see these two guys fight each other. I don't know why, but it also felt like Universal was doing this with they take all their monsters and sort of start mashing them up. So and so meets the Wolf Man. I mean, they did it with Abbott and Costello too, but like they would start taking these characters and mashing them up a little bit. Dracula and the Wolf Man and Dracula and Frankenstein are often appearing in films together. So I don't know, it's just kind of cool to see these two sort of monsters, appear together. It's 10, at least according
It's
to my
10, baby.
it's 10 o'clock. Let's see how prompt they are, because I'm pretty prompt. I'm refreshing the page now, and let's
Oh,
see.
shit.
Lost in Space. Okay.
Lost.
Let's
That's
go
new.
to coming soon, and let's see what we got. Let's order this by newest arrivals. And we have Creepshow
Ah,
2. Here we
there
go.
it is.
And here it is in a chunky box for everybody who was saying they wanted a chunky box. I think it was just Brent Madison. But my boy Brent, yo, you can be happy. That's some nice artwork there too. I like that.
I'm gonna tell you that there are people that are gonna be pissed about that artwork because it is the exact same
Mhm.
as for the Blu-ray. The
Yeah.
exact same. They did
And
not change anything.
I think Arrow has been doing some of that. They did that with the Elvira 4K. They did that with I want to say the Addiction 4K. There's several 4Ks that they released years after. Like I give them a pass on it when they release something like The Cell on Blu-ray and 4K simultaneously. But when they
Mhm.
do
Oh
something
yeah.
years later, it's like I would like a visual representation that it's the new one. I don't want to have to do I have to turn this thing over? I'm looking for that little HDR sticker. I want to make sure I get the 4K. And if the art is identical and I'm ordering online and I don't have this little HDR decal to look at in the stock image, then I want to make sure I get the right thing. And so that I don't know. I wish they would do new art when it's
To to
a
be
release
honest,
years.
I would have rather it been the original Creepshow art where he's in the movie theater pointing.
Yeah,
I
this one.
don't I don't dislike this art at all,
Yeah,
but it's been like 3, 4 years or so since they put out the other one, maybe longer, I can't remember. You could, I mean, throw something new at it. That's a long
yeah,
time. That's just like, "Oh, shit, we had these other boxes laying around."
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Let's slap a J card on this thing that says 4K, and then let's put the HDR sticker on the cellophane, because that's not even on the box, right? So they
mm-mm,
really could reuse, because what I have noticed, something like Witness, the 4K sold out very quickly, but the Blu-ray chunky box was still widely available. But that chunky box minus the J card that has the information about the disc on there, once you've stored that J card in the bin that you keep, because I do the same thing as you. I keep my J cards in like a bin. So that
mhm.
way I have the special features if I ever need to refer to it and I can't find them online or whatever. I've got the J card, or if I want to resell the item, I've got the J card. But once the J card is off, there's really nothing about that box that says this is the 4K versus this is the Blu-ray. So you can just
Nope.
slide the Blu-ray out, buy the standard 4K and slide that in, and what you've got there is the chunky box limited edition of the 4K release now. It's materially identical to the other one that sold out real fast, and that's what I did with Witness. Actually, I did that exact thing. So we got Brent is happy. I'm glad to see Brent is happy about that.
Oh, I'm very pumped up. I didn't have the previous release either, and as much as I love Creepshow, my movie Creature feature, Dread Central compared it to Creepshow, which was a highlight of my filmmaking career. Creepshow 2 is the one that I watched the most
Yeah,
growing up. I'm just gonna be honest. The raft
yeah,
segment, all that, like that Creepshow 2 for me is actually the first stuff I think about when I
yeah.
think about Creepshow. The
Agreed.
raft, Old Chief Woodenhead, all that stuff is the
Creepshow
one I
2 is
think
the first
about.
one I saw. Yeah, it was on TV more, I feel like, at least in the later
Yeah.
'80s. When I was kind of old enough to like early '80s, I think Creepshow Part 1 was what, like 82, 81, something like that?
Yeah, 80, 82, something like 82, 83. So
It
I would
was
only
pretty
been like
early.
4 years old or something.
Yeah, I was too young for that. And then it seems like by the time I was, 8, 9, 10, kinda old enough to watch TV on my own, sort of, it was just Creepshow 2 was the one that I always caught on television. So, that's the one that I have the childhood memories of watching. Like, when I popped Creepshow 1 and I got that on 4K, I don't know, a year and a half or so ago. When I watched that, that felt like oh, this is kind of new. Like I don't have memories of watching this as a kid. Like it was good, and I remembered having seen it 20 years earlier or whatever, but I was like, I don't have memories of like none of this reminds me of like, Saturday night as a kid, like I'm going down to the basement, I'm gonna watch some Creepshow 2 on TNT or whatever. But
Yeah, no, I don't know why. I mean, because I had an older brother, so if it came out, I'm not sure when the first one came out. It might be 81,
yeah,
but I remember seeing it, but just this one, I think you're right. I think it comes down to this one was probably like on TBS or TNT or whatever a whole lot more because there's also not as much, I don't think, to cut out of this one for them, like
yeah,
to put a TV copy out.
yeah.
Trying to look up Creepshow one.
And sometimes it is just like it's a silly behind the scenes thing, like it's a rights issue or something, like you have a different director, you have a slightly different production team on a sequel, and sometimes it's like they're more willing to wheel and deal with the TV and do the edits and stuff like that. And so you'll see like the sequel pop up on TV a lot more than the original sometimes. I feel like that way with Nightmare on Elm Street. I want to say like late 80s, early 90s, it was a lot of I would always catch the sequels, like part 3, part 4, but the first one, I feel like I didn't catch as much on television. I don't know if that's just my foggy 35-year-old memory or what, but,
So your um, Creepshow was November 12th, 82, and it's Ramiro and
uh,
King, and then Creepshow 2 was 87, May of 87. So yeah, like I would have been much older when that one
yeah,
came out. Different director, so not Romero on that one, but still Stephen King writing it. Um,
yeah.
but
I,
yeah, I just remember that one more. I'm looking forward to having it because the first one looks
I am too.
great in 4K. The first one looks awesome in
It's really not a
4K.
bad price. I recorded a video last night that I haven't released yet because I need to edit it, but I was talking about prices of movies, and I even shared a few strategies for, like, getting stuff cheap, but, like, $35 for a 4K, like, the chunky box with everything. I mean,
Yeah,
that
and
seems pretty
this
reasonable.
is one that I wouldn't sit on a whole long time. I know, like
Yeah,
Brian just did a haul video where he's like, "This is why I don't buy Arrow slips and stuff."
yeah,
I'm like, and he did mention the chunky boxes. This one is one I wouldn't dick around on if you want it. First of all, I'm with you. I don't find $35 to be out of the
yeah.
question on a chunky box 4K restoration like that.
That's really not bad.
Uh, and and the way that first one sold out, and go look at the prices, man. Like
Yeah.
I am not taking that chance. Nope.
Yeah, I mean, 35 is really not bad at all for a 4K. In this day and age, I mean, I know some of the studio 4Ks, like I think Brian said the Clueless standard was like 18 bucks for the 4K, which is I mean, that's a great price for a 4K. The Better Off Dead 4K, I think, was right around 22 bucks or somewhere in that neighborhood, 20, 22 bucks. And that's a great price for a 4K as well. But at the same time, especially with Better Off Dead, I do not expect it to have the bells and whistles of Creepshow 2. I mean, I was just perusing the special features, bonus features and stuff like that. And I don't know if this is extra stuff, like new stuff on top of what they released on the Blu-ray, because I don't own the Blu-ray. So I don't really have a frame of reference, but
Does
again, for
anything say
35 bucks, you're
new?
getting a lot.
I don't know if anything says new or not.
Yeah, I don't see
If
anything
if
saying new.
if it doesn't, this is where they're gonna catch some crap for people who already on the Blu-ray. They're gonna be like,
Yeah,
dude, you didn't change the artwork, you
yeah,
didn't put anything new.
yeah. I agree
All
with
you
that
did was
too.
like, you give me and this is what I know, like I'm not getting into a rights discussion because it's confusing and everything else for people, but studios, part of the reason they can put out stuff cheaper is because they already own the rights to the movie.
Exactly.
Like
There's no
Arrow and all these
licensing.
people, they're having to pay to get those. So they're paying this massive chunk
Yeah.
that the studio doesn't have to do. So it's a big thing. It says brand new restoration.
So
Well,
that's nice. I mean, I
that's
always appreciate when at least they've done some additional work. Like what you were just saying, Chase, like if they just if they already did the restoration years ago and they already scanned it in 4K back then, and they're not giving you new artwork, and they're not giving you new writing, and they're not giving you new special features on disc, then what are they really doing? And what's the only incentive to upgrade then is to get the 4K resolution. But I always want more. I complain. I agree with you, and I agree with the people who would be disappointed by that, because I would be disappointed as well if there's not some other stuff on there. If I own the Blu-ray, I don't own the Blu-ray, so this is a better
Right.
value proposal for me.
Yeah, for me and you who don't own the Blu-ray, this is all new. This is all good for
Yeah,
us. This is a great deal, and
yeah.
I'm like even more thrilled that I didn't go buy aftermarket Blu-ray
Mhm.
set
That's actually something I
and
mentioned in the
overpay for
video
it.
I made last night, is like, wait. Like, so when something's out of print, if you missed it, just wait, because,
Mhm.
you know, it's not exactly gonna come down in price. Like, the VSU Showgirls limited edition was $120 a year ago. It's $120 today. A year from now, it'll be $120 unless someone else puts it out. If Arrow puts out a chunky box set of Showgirls in the UK, or Umbrella does it in Australia or something like that, then the aftermarket price here will plummet, as it did for something like Breathless with a slipcover. The FCE Breathless was, 2 months ago, it was $100, and I saw somebody trying to sell it for $10 yesterday because there's a
Yeah,
4K on the horizon. So,
yeah.
I always say wait, because that'll save you some money. So I'm a little bit disappointed that it's not a steelbook, because, like I said before, I got that first world problem of, I've got a shelf. I segregate my steelbooks. I have a section that's just steelbooks in alphabetical order, and a Creepshow 2 steelbook would have been nice right next to my Creepshow 1 steelbook, but this chunky box is going to have to live next to, it's going to have to live next to Carlito's Way, I guess. Or right at, yeah, it's going to be right after Conan and right before Cruising on my shelf. Hey, look what we're getting in the US.
So they had that in the UK a few months ago.
Yeah, maybe even a year ago. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
The Good, the Bad, the Weird, which
You would
feels
def
like
I figured you would be interested.
I would say I'm remotely interested, although I don't see any of these guys doing kung fu on each other. I need a samurai sword, or I need a dude like doing some kung fu on somebody, like chopping somebody in the neck and them going like, ah, like, I need something, just Asian
See,
dudes riding horses is cool, but
this is where I consider like it's weird because I'll get in arguments with people that go out of both sides of their mouth because in this I don't consider this a new release because
no,
they've had it. They've had it. They put it out and you can and they own the worldwide rights to
yeah,
this. So if they just owned the UK territory, that'd be one thing, but they don't. They own the worldwide rights. So they released it over there and they just held it and now they're
yeah,
releasing it over here. But you could have always gotten it through Orbit or whatever because they have the worldwide rights. There's no
yeah,
hiccup there. There's no argument like with the keep who owns the rights and somebody stepping on it.
yeah.
So Arrow will count this as a new chunky box set release for us, and I'll be like, bro, no, like
Yeah.
that's a year
Because
old, and you've had the
Americans have been
rights. You
buying
just
this from
waited,
Orbit for the past year.
right?
Yeah,
So
look,
I
BMG
don't.
already has that one. See?
Yeah,
Proof
I don't
right
count
there.
this
It's
as a
like as
new
soon as we said
release.
it.
But when people defend Arrow, because like I'll get for some reason I get now all of a sudden labeled as an Arrow hater. I'm like, y'all had them as my number
Yeah.
one boutique last year,
I love
and
Arrow.
I
I mean,
love
I'll
Arrow.
I'll even say I love Arrow. I've given them a
Me
lot of my
too.
money. I will continue to give them my money and support them with releases like Creepshow 2. I don't know that I'll support them with the good, the bad, the weird. But I don't really necessarily criticize Arrow for this. I consider this kind of a push, because it's like, I'm with you. I don't get excited about this just because it's coming to the US, because it's like, all right, I knew about this. And if I wanted this, I could have bought it 6 months ago or 3 months ago or whatever. That would have been no problem. I don't understand why Arrow does that to themselves. That's the thing
I
that
don't
I
either.
don't get. If you've got worldwide rights, don't release it in UK and then wait 6 months. And everybody who's really excited, I mean, because there are a lot of fans here in the United States. I'm thinking Frank's from Frank's Media and Love Room. He really likes Korean cinema. He's posted a bunch about his love for Korean cinema. And so, um, I would imagine that people like him, there's a lot of people like him kind of in our hobby, and he would have imported the shit out of this months ago, and then Arrows shot themselves
Right.
in the foot because as soon as they bring it to the US market, everyone's like, "Yeah, I've already got that one." So,
Yeah, it's yeah, I don't see the point in that. Just really, if you've got the worldwide rights, just make it easy and release them across the board,
yeah.
like they're doing with Creepshow. Or I'm assuming I'm pull up Arrow UK.
That makes a lot of sense
I,
for the Creepshow thing, though, because people would have imported the crap out of that. I mean, if they released Creepshow in the UK in September or whenever, and then people would have wanted it for, for Halloween, get it in time for Halloween, everybody would have imported that thing. Just I mean, it's easy. I mean, everybody's been importing the Dollars trilogy. That's been easy. Websites like Orbit and Diabolic, they make it
Mhm.
super easy, super cheap. Like it doesn't even matter that this thing is coming from the UK anymore, except for those annoying little, um, the annoying little rating stickers, which I hate. They're not even
I
stickers; they're
hate
like
those too.
printed on the stupid slipcover. But yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand why they would wait 6 months or 8 months or whatever they did to release this here instead of just simultaneously doing it. I actually assumed at the time, since they didn't release this in the United States, that they didn't have the US rights. I actually just assumed that they would have simultaneously released it because it makes the most sense to me. But I've never worked in this industry, so
Yeah, it's they do that with a lot of stuff that they have worldwide too. They'll hold it off and they'll be like, "Oh, well, we'll dry up, we'll get this whole territory over here, and then we'll
yeah,
save it and drop it over here." But like you said, this is not like 1965. It's not really that
yeah,
hard to import stuff. And if
super
you have
easy.
the worldwide rights and Arrow has to physically be selling it to Orbit
Yeah,
wholesale via their deal. So they know Americans are buying it.
yeah,
Like you said, you've already watered down the amount of people who would buy it. You're really at
yeah.
this point only going to hit people who buy directly from Arrow
And
instead of from anyone else.
I would think that might actually impact because it's gonna have an impact on sales. I mean, I would assume, I think the mechanic is very clear how that would impact sales. Because that impacts sales, you're gonna have some meeting with higher ups at Arrow who are analyzing the sales of all of their titles. I mean, as much as this is an art, there is corporate funding here. There are people who sit on a
Mhm.
board who probably have nothing to do with film production, who have never made art in their life, but they've got money and they're invested in Arrow and they're on a board of investors. There's probably a C-suite team with Arrow. It's a big enough company that you have some data analyst that pulls together reports on a quarterly basis that presents sales of the various titles on the various formats. It's probably filterable by title and format, maybe even like release year and stuff like that. They're going to look at the sales of something like The Good, the Bad, the Weird in the United States, and it's going to look lackluster. Maybe it doesn't meet their
Mhm.
projection. Maybe they printed a shit ton of these and now they're going to have to sell them off at 50% over the next couple of years, and that feels like a loss for them. That could even impact their decisions in the future to say, well, maybe this niche Korean film just doesn't really have the popularity in the United States, and maybe we need to skip the US release entirely or release it in really limited quantities in the United States because they've already cannibalized their own sales from the UK territory into the United States. It feels like it would muddy the water from an analytic standpoint for a C-suite or investor kind of decision-making process. So,
1,000,000%. I just don't, I can't really,
so Cliff needs to
I
see
don't,
this video. Cliff needs to hear what we have to say
yeah,
and pass
yeah.
that
I
along.
mean,
I'd like to meet with the
and
C-suite team and investors at Arrow and explain to them how this might impact the data analysis that they see for year end. I mean, they'll be looking at 2025 data in January of 2026 and wondering what the hell happened to the good, the bad, the weird. Well, it's 4K. I mean, Blu-ray was a different thing because it was region
yeah,
locked. You had
yeah, it's
less
very
apps.
different.
Yeah,
They
only
can't
the
keep
really
taking the
hardcore
same
people.
approach.
Yeah. The
You can't
hardcore
take the
people
same
would import
approach.
the Blu-ray, but yeah, with the 4K, you can't take the same approach. I agree. Let's see what else
Nope.
they're releasing. Let's see what else we got. Hellbender. Have you heard of Hellbender?
I've never heard of this one.
I've never heard of this one either. This one looks like it might be a more recent production. I mean, I don't dislike the artwork, the general vibe I'm getting from it.
This
This
may
is a
be the,
Blu-ray.
I'm wondering if this can't be what he considered the big title that people were gonna be upset that only got a Blu-ray, because this is only a blue,
Yeah. It's
but I've
only a
never
blue,
heard
but
of
it's
this before.
not. Yeah, I don't see this as being that it's got 3 directors. 2021 was the release year. I like the aesthetic. I tell you what, I mean, they could get me on this. I like that slipcover aesthetic. It very much reminds me of, what's the one that Radiance put out? Messiah of Evil. It sort of reminds
Oh,
me of
yeah.
that aesthetic,
Yeah. Oh, that's
which
for
I
sure.
don't mind either. I like the Messiah of Evil aesthetic. They could get me on a sale on this one, right? I'm probably not pre-ordering this one, but even I mean, 28's not bad. You get this one on sale, and I'm sure you could find if you wait, you get it on sale. I'm sure you can get it for 20 bucks or so. So
Especially with it being just a blue and not
yeah,
a 4K.
yeah. I don't mind the aesthetic. I would watch a trailer for this and see if it's like something I'm interested in. 83 minutes. It seems like it's probably pretty straight horror. We've got sixth feature from the Addams Family. I feel like that's a tough one to go by if you're the acclaimed filmmakers of the Addams Family.
Yeah.
It's a spellbinding folk horror and coming of age story. I mean, I feel like that could work. Um, I would look at a trailer and then I would probably think about picking this one up because if you bought it for 18 or 20 bucks, you'd probably feel pretty good about yourself if you got a brand new for that. Boiling over with adolescent rage. I don't know. They might have lost me there.
Yeah, I lost me right there.
I'm a little old for the adolescent angst, adolescent rage.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, you've got adolescent rage and wicked witchcraft, and it talks about a punk rock soundtrack. This sounds like a very angry goth girl. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
yeah. So here, this appears to be their their Japanese release of the month. Arrow never goes a month without a Japanese
There you
release.
go. There it is. My
There it is.
my monthly shopping in here.
I dig it. I mean, you know me. I'm here for the Asian cinema. I like Japanese film. I own a ton of Japanese film. I like Hong Kong cinema. I'm very excited to spend too much money on the Shout releases. Their new Hong Kong cinema line is definitely gonna continue to get my money. 28 bucks, not bad.
Since since I'm on your channel, can I be the asshole guy who
Please do.
says I've got no problem with all of these releases. My problem is every boutique every month. Here is a box of these. Here are two of these, whether
Yeah,
it's Vinegar Syndrome, whether it's Screen Factory, whether it's Arrow. They're all like dropping these out. 88 films. Like
yeah.
every month, it's like, y'all, we're dropping 2, 3, 7, 10 of these movies every month. And I can't get Iron Eagle. Like,
Oh,
what's
yeah.
what's going and I know that you got to buy licensing rights, but man, you look and there's just so many. Go to Tubi and look at horror films. People are like,
Yeah.
what else could they put out? Holy God. You could scroll for an hour of domestic horror films alone that are stuck on DVD,
Yeah.
VHS, or whatever. And I know there's a market for those.
Yeah.
100% know there's a market for those. So it's like these are being put out because for the most part, now maybe not like Jackie Chan or Jet Li stuff, but for the most part, this stuff is being got super cheap,
That's what I
super cheap.
exactly.
That's why they're
Exactly.
putting it out,
Yeah.
and it's almost like a filler. And I know it sells, or they wouldn't keep doing it. But it's like
Yeah.
we can buy this rights for 5 grand, and
Yeah.
you know,
It must be
and just
that.
own the movie.
Yeah, it must be
So
that. It feels a little bit like filler. It feels a little bit like I feel like it's like kismet, like the stars kind of align. It's cheap to license. It has a built-in fan base, even if it's not as big as the whole hobby. There is like a subunit of people within our hobby that are like wicked, Asian cinema, maybe even slightly weebish, like a little bit of weeb DNA, but they're all about the Asian stuff. I mean, I've got a little bit of that too, but I feel like it probably lines up pretty well, and then it also helps, like you said, it kind of helps fill out the catalog a little bit. Instead of 3 releases in a month, they've got 4 now. It helps they'll put out a box set, and, that might just be the reason why they're doing it, is there's a small fan base. It's cheap, so it means it's profitable. Even if they don't make as many sales, they make a pretty tidy profit because the licensing fees and maybe the restoration. They're usually putting them out on blue as well. It's not they don't usually get the full 4K. Criterion, I think, has been doing 4Ks for their Asian cinema. Things like Seven Samurai, obviously. Things like High and Low get the 4K treatment. Those were 2 Kurosawa Japanese films, but then there's also what's that one? Farewell My Concubine is a Chinese film that got the 4K treatment. So Arrow, it feels a little different. Like the ones that Arrow is releasing feel a little bit less prestigious and more like, here's a 1977 hard-boiled, Japanese crime. And I have seen
Right.
people online say they want more of this kind of cinema. So I know that there's some fandom out there, but for me, you really got to sell me on some of these, because they might have done it right here. They got Toshiro Mifune in here. I wonder how much he's in here. And they got Yusaku Matsuda. I like both of these actors. Yusaku Matsuda is, neither is Toshiro Mifune. Neither of them are still with us, but Yusaku Matsuda was in the game trilogy that Arrow released. He was also in Yokohama BJ Blues, which I saw him in, that was released by Radiance, which is the most recent Yusaku Matsuda film that I've seen. And Toshiro Mifune, of course, is famous for his collaborations with Kurosawa. He was in Seven Samurai. He's in High and Low. He's in The Bad Sleep Well. He's in Yojimbo, Sanjuro. Basically, name a Kurosawa film, and there's a 90% chance Toshiro Mifune is at least in it. He's in Rashomon. He's in, just pretty much about any Kurosawa film. Toshiro Mifune is in it. It's like De Niro and Scorsese, but on steroids. So they might have sold me there with the actors, because I do like the actors. It looks like kind of a sort of gritty crime drama, maybe noirish, which I like those things. I like the graphic design of
I recognize that American actor right there. Is that
him.
who is
Let's
that?
see who
It's,
he is.
what's his name? I just totally blanked on it.
Do they have a list of actors?
They
Maybe
do
they do down
not.
here. Product
I hate
details.
when they do that.
Actor George Kennedy. Yeah, actually,
George Kennedy. Thank you. Yes.
Frank Sanchez called it. Frank,
Yep.
you were 5 steps ahead of us. That is George Kennedy. And I don't know. I might check this one out again for $28. If it sticks around long enough for a sale, and I could get this for 20, I don't know. If it's noirish, I see this is Yusaku Matsuda, I believe, or this is Yusaku Matsuda. I can't see his face well enough. I think that's probably also Yusaku Matsuda, but it might be Toshiro Mifune. But if it's got that noirish kind of vibe, like late night streets of Japan, I might check that one out.
See, and that's what I try to tell people. I'm like, I don't actually hate this sentiment. I'm happy for people who get it all. It's just like
Yeah,
it feels like disproportionately represented by every single boutique.
yeah.
You did a video, you were talking about it. Hey, there's Dolce Green. You did a
Dolce.
video where you talked about how Vinegar Syndrome's passing it off as VSA,
Yeah,
and you and I had talked about that. These
yeah.
movies you weren't renting in 1986 in your mom and pop video rental
No, you
store. Like
weren't. Yeah, I wish they would do I
maybe
wish
in New
every
York
would do
City
that.
somewhere, like some really, you know,
Yeah.
metropolis, big, art center, but you
California,
know,
someplace that has a thriving Asian community, then
maybe, yeah.
maybe, but I just don't think American companies were putting out movies like An Eye for an Eye in 1990 or 91. I there was a niche audience for it back then, and there was some anime. I mean, I think Akira was available on VHS probably in the early 90s, 92, something like that, but, you know, we weren't importing movies from Asia quite that quickly back then. And I
No,
remember going into movie rental places in the late 80s and early 90s, and I never saw that side. That was never something that was like, Mom, let's rent this kung fu movie. And I liked Bruce Lee, I liked martial arts movies, but that stuff didn't exist here in the West until a little bit later. In the 90s, it started coming out on VHS, and I had the whole Bruce Lee set, and I had stuff subtitle. I had some subtitled Jackie Chan and Jet Li stuff on VHS, but that wasn't until like 95. And so I wish they would do something else with the VSA. I mean, at least for Arrow, it's like they're not going to slow you down on Creepshow 2. You know, you could buy Proof of the Man also if you want to, but you know, at least you have your Creepshow 2s. And if you don't feel like buying the box set, you don't have to. So I think this is the last one for the month,
It
and
is. Mhm.
it's the new Lost. I went to the premiere of this at the because this was produced by Ted Turner, right? So they had the
Mhm.
premiere at the Fox Theater, and me and my buddy Jimmy, R.I.P. Jimmy, I love you, buddy. He and I went to go see this. 35 bucks for a 4K, not bad. It's not a chunky box, but I don't think I've seen it since that premiere. We went to see the premiere of this in like 99 or whenever it came out, and I don't think I've seen it since the premiere, but
Now, I would argue I don't understand why that is the exact same price as the chunky box.
check this out. I don't understand it either. But what I really don't get is why they're selling the Korean film that has a smaller audience for 45 and Creepshow 2 for 35. I mean, 35
Yeah, I don't
for Creepshow 2 seems like a steal of a deal right now.
yeah, that's I'm gonna say they probably have owned those rights all the way back till several years ago when they put out the Blu-ray. So they didn't have to pay anything new for it. That would be my guess.
Yeah,
And they probably did no shit. They'd have to do new art. Think about it. They didn't have to do new art. They didn't have to do anything.
kept their costs low.
Um,
Is that I mean, is that like a evidence that um we, or at least some of us in this community, are kind of spoiled in this hobby that you know we complain about, people often complain about the price of physical media going up, the prices are getting more expensive, they're charging 60 bucks for a steel book, but then on the other hand, you know, in the same conversation, somebody might also complain that, oh, the art is the same, they didn't include any new special features, and it pretty much looks the same as what they released on Blu-ray. The only difference is it's a 4K resolution on the disc, and otherwise everything's the same. And you know, so you can gripe about two things, but it's like them saving
oh,
money on the art and the production helps keep the price down, and you're complaining about the prices. Like one or the other, dude, choose
I
one.
preach that all the time because I mean, as you know, as I've talked about, like I'm besides working on that side and film production and deal and setting in with like rights deals and trying to negotiate all that kind of stuff and knowing what goes into it over the past like 6 months, I've been trying to find out about acquiring films and like all these different costs and talking with Blockbuster box sets and figuring out how much production cost on chunky boxes and all this stuff is. And that's why I tell people they cost more than you think. So you're not going to get, well, this should be $24.99. I'm like, bro, a standard studio Blu-ray 15 years ago wasn't $24.99, and you want
Yeah,
all of this stuff
yeah,
for $24.99. That's not real life. So
yeah,
yeah, you could get, oh well, the studio can sell Better Off Dead for $20 on Amazon. They already own the rights. They're not putting it in a chunky box. They didn't do jack
yeah.
shit with the artwork. They can mass produce them in-house, like
I'd be
all that
shocked
kind
if
of
they
stuff.
included any special features whatsoever, because that release has
Right.
never had special features. So, yeah, I
So
mean, you have a very good point. I mean,
I mean, Kino takes grief, but part of the reason Kino can sell theirs a scotch cheaper, look how scaled down the packaging is.
yeah,
It's the copy paste cover. And I would say 80% of the time, they're just doing scans. They're not doing
yeah,
restorations. They're just scanning. And that takes out a whole huge labor intensive part of the process.
yeah, for sure. I feel
So
like,
you're right on.
it's tough to get, you know, it's like you want something, you sort of want it like it has to be good, it has to be fast, but it also has to be cheap, and it's like you want all of these variables, but it's tough to line them all up, and it's like you kinda have to sacrifice one for the other, and, you know, like,
You're not
you might
getting a
complain
Ferrari
about
for the price of a Pinto. You're not
yeah,
saying all the time, you
yeah,
know?
and I mean, I guess if you could get a good deal, but I mean, part of that is also like, well, if it's too expensive, then, like, wait for the standard. You've said that before in your videos, like, there's a
Mhm.
standard. A year ago, they did pre-orders for Trick or Treat, the 1986 Trick or Treat, in that box
Yep.
set that was like 66, but after shipping and everything, it was like $70 or so, 72 bucks for this, like, chunky box set of a single film. that's kind of a cult
Mhm.
film anyway. It's not even really a well-known movie like Gladiator or some shit like that, that you're gonna move tons of units on. So I guess people kind of complained then that they thought, $70 is kind of a lot for like one movie. It's not even a box set of multiple films. But a year later, I mean, last time I walked through my Bullmoose, there it is. It's a standard edition, and it still has a slipcover. So you got to give it to Synapse and Redshirt that even the standard has like at least there's a nice slipcover on there, and that was something like $30 for the 4K, maybe 35 for the 4K.
Yep.
So, you can always wait, and a lot of times there will be a standard edition. There's a standard edition of The Keep available that if um, the Australian release is too much money, I get it. That's fine. You don't want to spend 160 on it, but there's a cheaper release that's also very high quality that you can obtain if you just want to watch the movie. So,
Right. That's yeah, you can't complain. I think in those cases, I've said it before, I'm the jerk that says what it really is you really want that. You just don't want to spend the money, so you're
yeah,
pissed that it costs that much.
yeah,
So like, and I've been in that position too. So I know I can say that.
yeah,
Like, man, I really want this thing, but I don't want to pay that much for it. It sucks that it's not just this much less. And that's just life, man. That's
yeah.
just life.
That's the way it is sometimes. Like you want something, I think you get what you pay for. I mean, I very much believe that you get what you pay for. So, you
Mhm.
know, if you stay in a
Now,
$50 a night
this
hotel room in
title,
Florida, you're gonna step on a cockroach. And if you
yes, yes.
if you get a $500 a night hotel in Las Vegas, like chances are you have access to their lounge with top shelf liquor for free, and it's included in the $500 a night Bellagio hotel room. And I know that also. I've stayed in both rooms. I've stayed in the $50 a night Roach Motel in Florida, and I have stayed in the $500 a night room in the Bellagio, and I prefer the Bellagio. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the Bellagio suite is 10 times the price of the Roach Motel, but it's like you get what you pay for.
Yep.
So
This title here, I'm excited about this one. Like I
yeah,
actually like this movie, but I was such a fan of the original series, and I don't know. I thought it was good, like cheese sci-fi. So like
yeah,
I think this was one that could. There's parts of this that are probably going to look outstanding in
yeah.
4K. We'll see how the any effects in it hold up. But like this is actually one that I'm comes out of left field here. I'm a little surprised about this one. I hadn't heard
This
anything from anybody about this
yeah.
one.
This is almost a forgotten. This feels like one of those '90s movies that sort of time forgot a little bit. Like people remember The Faculty, people remember obviously the Tarantino films of the '90s. People remember, those kind of big '90s films. Can't Hardly Wait. That got a big release like a
Yeah.
year ago. Those '90s films that are like still in the zeitgeist today. People look back on fondly, like we look back on '80s movies fondly. And Lost in Space feels like one of those ones that people are like, oh yeah, that was a thing. Lost in Space. Yeah, I remember that movie now, but I wasn't thinking about Lost in Space today.
No, I wasn't thinking about this at all. This came out like like 98, so like the summer after I graduated, I think,
Yeah.
high school. And of course you have Matt LeBlanc in
Matt
this,
LeBlanc,
and
yeah.
Friends was massive.
Friends
That's
was
like right in the
huge.
middle of Friends run. Heather Graham, who this one of the few movies she's not naked in.
I know,
Uh,
unfortunately. Like, womp
but
womp. Do you wanna see them
she's in
titties?
a lot of
Womp
stuff.
womp.
Nope, none in there.
Please.
It's got to be
It's really
one.
nice.
Seriously, you can probably count on one hand the amount that she's been in.
I
That
know. I like that because she probably comes to they interview her, they're like, "Hey, we're thinking about making this film, how would you like to be in it?" "Yes, would you like me to take my top off?" Like, she shows up to the fucking audition or whatever, or to meet with the
Yep,
producer, director, whatever, and she just shows up topless. She just unclips the thing and just opens them up and just like, "I'm still ready to work." Obviously, my resume speaks for me, and, I'm ready to go to work, and I have to appreciate her for, just being so open. But this reminds
yeah,
me of, like,
she's.
that time where Friends, like you said, Friends was huge. There was this
Mhm.
like, this was Matt LeBlanc's like, "Whoa, this is like he's making a movie now, he's transitioning to being a movie star," and this came out at the time where it was like Friends was huge, and all of the individual actors were like, "Oh, Courtney Cox is gonna be in this. She's in these Scream movies, and Jennifer Aniston is gonna make a movie." And it felt like the whole Friends cast was gonna like blow up into superstardom, and it seems like really only Jennifer Aniston quite made it.
Yeah.
So maybe a
And
more optimistic time for them.
but of course, they all have so much money. They didn't have to do
Yeah,
anything else. I think
yeah.
like before he passed, like what they're like Mitch Blunt's worth over almost $1 billion off of that show. Like, I mean, it is they're made so much money
Yeah,
off
and
that
especially
show.
if you
It
did
is.
smart things with that, like if if you bought real estate and invested it and stuff like that, I mean, you could take a career like Friends that went like, I don't know, what, 9 or 10 seasons? I mean, it wasn't a short run either, particularly where they're making, 1,000,000 or more per episode. I don't know what they're making the last couple of seasons, but, they did that TV show thing where they, um, they start out as like no one's ever heard of these people. The TV show is brand new. By the end of it, it's so popular that the studio, the television network, they want to make a couple more seasons because they're selling the advertisements are, the money and the ads are now like off the charts. They're making so much money off the advertisement during that show that like the actors can just say, okay, well, I'm out unless you give me. They can just like throw it. I need $5 million an episode. Okay, but 7 years ago, we were giving you 20K per episode. What the fudge?
Yeah.
And yeah,
I
it
think
was
by the end, it was costing them counting salary. It's on one of those special features on that big set, but by the end, in salary and production of the show was costing them like $32 million per episode, but it was
wild.
still making like 70 million when you
That's
factor
awesome.
in advertisement and everything. Like that's like Super Bowl money. Like
Yeah,
get out of
that's
town.
and you think about what movies cost back then too. I mean, it was really more a recent kind of post Iron Man phenomena. It was really kind of an MCU, kind of more modern Disney phenomena that a regular movie would get a 200 or $300 million budget. I mean, you think back to the late
Mhm.
90s and people were like, holy shit, Titanic cost $200 million and nothing else came close. And
Yeah, no.
maybe a Star Wars movie, but the budgets on films, even relatively big films back then with big stars like Tom Cruise in the 90s, like the budgets didn't come close to what they do today, which is another reason Hollywood's kind of fucked. I think they shot themselves in the foot with having to recoup $1.5 billion just to make
Wait,
a profit. But
well, I always blow people's mind with the bit of trivia that the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, 2001, 2002, right at the end of 2001, that was the first movie to ever go over 100 million in a weekend.
yeah,
So that's not really been that long ago. So we have
yeah,
just gone, and Robert Downey Jr. only made 500K for
yeah.
the first Iron Man.
They
So
had to,
like
yeah, they had
we
to
have
like
gone nuts since
we've gone
then. Just
nuts. It blew up. I mean, it blew up and then it spilled over to other stuff like the most recent Indiana Jones, and it's just it makes me nostalgic for movies like Lost in Space and The
Mhm.
Faculty and like what are some other 90s films I've watched, 80s movies too, where it's like, you could watch a relatively good production and then find out like, oh, this was only $20 million. You're like, all right, well, obviously there's some inflation. So it would adjusting for inflation is still only, $50 million to make this movie or something. And you're like,
Right.
oh, it's Top Gun. You guys made Top Gun for like 50 million American 2025 dollars or whatever it was. I mean, it was probably more than that, but it's wild what
Creepshow
they do
2
today.
budget $3.5 million for Creepshow 2 and made almost 40 million in the box. So think about that in
Yeah.
1987.
I think that's the way to go. I think that's what they need to do more of today. Is just make more
Yeah.
films for $10 million, and, if it bombs, then it's not a huge loss. You can write that off, and, if it does pretty well, then you don't need to make $1 billion, right? Like, yeah, and it doesn't
You
make
got
any
to
sense to
stop
me.
relying on so much CGI, so much
Yeah,
we'll do it in post, and start doing things in front of the camera again and you watch those prices
yeah,
go down big time.
agreed,
Like,
agreed.
that's the
No,
way.
let those poor CGI artists out of the basement. Let them see some sunlight. Let them get their vitamin D. Let them visit their families and write their parents a letter or something like that. Like unshackle those people and let them out and quit doing so much stuff in post. So
That's
I would say
that
it's
so really we're getting 2, like, mainstream titles this
yeah,
month in the US,
and a couple of Asian
Creepshow 2.
films
Yeah,
and
and a couple of Asian one is a re-release, basically, and, the other is a new release. They're both blues. Oh, and Hellbender, that kinda, like, rounds out
oh
it's like,
hell
I
yeah,
feel like that's been kind of happening lately where it's like they'll have 1 or 2 kinda headline release, and then there's, like, this other stuff. Like last month with Cobra, there was some other Blu-ray horror movie with like a wedding cake on top. I can't remember the name of
oh
it.
I remember that one,
Um,
yeah, that
and
was
it
another
just kind of got
recent,
thrown in.
yeah,
The month before it was Andromeda Strain that kind of got thrown in, and a couple of others. And so it's like they're kind of adopting this like here are the headliner 1 or 2. Now this is our first chunky box here in the US Creepshow for like
yeah,
3 months. People are
yeah,
like, no, Dark City just came out. I'm like, yeah, bro, but you ordered, but that's from like 3 months ago.
yeah, they announced that months ago.
So,
Yeah,
like you're just now getting it, but it's months ago.
I'm still sad I'm not getting a steelbook of Creepshow 2, but,
Man,
you know,
no,
I thought we
no,
got
no.
one for Desperado, it's been a few months, maybe they'll bust out a steelbook for me just to kinda give the middle finger to Scream, but, Scream Factory, not the film Scream, but Scream Factory, but, that's my big complaint for the month. I would also remind the chat, anybody watching this live, the phone lines are open in the studio. Anybody that feels like making their voice heard, my studio phone number is going across the bottom there on the screen. You guys can see that. That's 207-835-1905. The phone lines are open. Feel free to call in if you want to. I don't know if you just want to call me names too. That's fine. Do whatever you want. But how do you feel about this month, Chase? Like, are you
Well, I
super
mean,
excited? You don't
I
seem
am
super excited.
Yeah, Creepshow 2, I'm super excited. That's immediate pre-order for me.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna pre-order Lost in Space. I think
yeah,
it's fun, but Creepshow is definitely the headliner for me. I'm not gonna pick up any of those others right now, but that I mean that's okay too, because that saves me money. That's gonna be like $70 for those two. Actually, sometimes, and I'll give shout out. You know, I'm apparently I'm an Orbit hater now too, even though I've done whole videos on them. But, I'll give a shout out to Orbit. A lot of times they'll come in a dollar or 2 under
yeah,
what you see this price listed for
yeah.
on this website. So,
I'll give
I
Orbit credit
will
too. Like
order
you
from
place
them
an
because I
order.
always get it earlier than I get it
Yeah,
from Arrow. So,
I love Orbit
um,
for that. You place an
yeah,
order on
I do
Orbit,
too.
dude. Like they have shipped within an hour, like multiple times for me. Like I'll place an
Yeah.
order and then that thing is like an hour later. I get an email that's saying that it's already been dispatched, and I'm like, shit, yeah. I don't know, man.
Well, like my, Cobra and, the stuff arrived at my house yesterday. Like, I know that it arrived. I just gotta get my mail when I get home tomorrow.
Yeah,
And that the release date on that movie is not till, like, July 20th or July 19th, and
yeah,
I have it already.
that's
So,
awesome.
you know,
They're much better about
so
that than
I will order those 2 from Orbit as soon
yeah,
as they get up on the website today, just so that I don't have to worry about it, and, I'm pretty excited over Creepshow. I would have liked some new art, like you said, just to distinguish from the release they
yeah,
dropped out 3, 4 years ago, Blu-ray, but, other than that I'm okay with only having 2 releases to buy because we're going into Criterion month
yeah,
here and Vinegar
yeah,
Syndrome with another giant sale. They had the massive sale, and then now they took a month off and closed everything down to catch up, and they're gonna open it right back with an equally massive sale this time, which is kind of unprecedented for them.
yeah,
A whole new extra VSU. They're gonna move to 4 VSUs a year, which is something from a business standpoint and a collector standpoint, I've been advocating for them like one a quarter, one a
yeah.
quarter. I
That
don't
seems
know who didn't
reasonable.
ever think about that. Like from a financial standpoint, you're looking at it in quarters, do one a quarter.
Yeah.
Because 4 a year to me is still not that hard to keep up with.
I think you've gotta look at sales too, and I have to imagine the VSU line has picked up in the last I mean, maybe, and this is just pure speculation, but I think probably the most recent year of the VSU line sales has probably been a lot bigger, just generally speaking, on average per title than the first year. Even though the first year has some titles that sold out that are gone now, it just feels like there's a lot of anticipation around the VSUs nowadays that it doesn't feel like was quite there like 2 years ago. Um, so yeah, it seems like if I'm a businessman, if I don't care about like the art or whatever. I'm just looking to maximize the value of a company called Vinegar Syndrome so I could sell it and buy a yacht. If I'm an investor in Vinegar Syndrome, I'm looking at these releases and thinking these VSUs are selling great. We're always printing at least 10K of these things and they're selling great. Let's let's do another one of these per year, and then each quarter will have this like nice bump in sales from this VSU. And I would think like, let's
And
do it.
yeah, and 4 is not unruly to keep up with. If you
Yeah,
started doing 1 a month, it would devalue it, but, like,
yeah,
1 a quarter, it also makes it easier for them to release at certain times,
yeah,
just makes more sense to me, and some people are like, "Well, this one's not selling out as fast." They are actually printing way more of them now than they
yeah,
did back when they had, like, Roadhouse and, like, some of those
yeah,
early ones. They are printing more
yeah,
now. That's part of it, but when even you get 10,000 units of Navy SEALs sells out,
yeah,
like, people are like, "This one's not gonna sell out." This I think with the exception of, like, Sidekicks, Daryl, and Six String Samurai, they're
yeah,
all the others are sell out. They're gonna sell out. If Navy SEAL sells out 10K, yeah, maybe it took it a year, but
yeah,
you think of it from their perspective, that means they're averaging selling almost 1,000 copies of that per month
yeah. And
on
that's
you know?
yeah, and that's another thing to think about is that you know something like Six String Samurai and Sidekicks, and I don't understand Sidekicks. Six String Samurai I kind of understand. That's a little bit more of an acquired taste, but Sidekicks I don't get because that was a big movie in the 90s. I remember that being quite popular. When I went to see it in the theater was full, and it was a Chuck Norris film. So that one I don't quite understand why they've had such a hard
Yeah.
time selling that one out. But it does seem like, I mean, Navy SEALs. I remember a lot of people online on the Blu-ray.com forums were not super pumped about Navy SEALs. Like people were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Navy SEALs, I don't even really like that movie. That's a $5 bargain bin at Walmart movie." And I'm like, "It's sold out." Hey, cat, don't claw my leather chair, dude. This is my cat. He's an asshole. He's been unplugging things. This is the one that's like he's mostly Maine Coon. So you can tell
'Cause you're
Risha that you've
yeah.
seen one of my Maine
Oh gosh.
Coons, that fluffy
She's
tail.
just she's just trying to run over, "Oh, he's off screen."
Oh,
Yeah, see on playback.
he was digging into me because he didn't like me holding him up for the camera. But he's
But
like, he doesn't love being held, but he will get all up in my shit. I'm like, "Dude, I can't walk because you're, like, rubbing up on my legs.
yeah.
If you want, I'll hold you and I'll walk like, I'll go do what I need to do, but I'll, like, hold you and pet you." But he's like, "Nah, I don't wanna be held and pet. I just wanna slow you down." So, whatever. Get out
But
of
y
here, cat.
like that's the people who are like, "Oh, I don't think Golden Child's gonna sell out." Golden Child will sell out.
Yeah,
I'm not telling you how
for sure.
fast it's gonna go. It's an Eddie Murphy movie. It's a legit budget movie. That movie's going to sell out. It's also probably the 3rd it's in the top 3 of the best 4K restorations and packaging combos together that they've done. Um,
Yeah.
it's
I
gonna sell out. If
yeah,
Navy
it's very
SEALs sold
nice.
out, it's gonna sell out. Southern Comfort
Southern
sold
Comfort
out,
sold out.
and I didn't like, I hadn't even seen that movie,
Yeah.
and, I mean, I love it. I watched it. I think it's great. Now I
I think
recommend it to
Southern
people,
Comfort,
but
it got a lot of very strong word of mouth at following that
mhm,
4K release. And it did that's another one that took about a year or so, maybe a little
yeah,
bit more to sell out. But if I'm Vinegar Syndrome, again, if I'm a C-suite executive, if I'm an investor, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's awesome when the keep sells out in a single weekend, 48 hours or so, and the keep is gone. And I've sold through 12,000 copies of that in 48 hours. That feels good. But another part of me would be thinking, should have done 15,000, should have done
yeah.
16,000. Because if it takes a couple of months to sell out or a year to sell out, it's still selling out and I'm selling more copies. And ultimately, if I'm making a profit per unit sold, I want to sell more units because I'm a business person and that's ultimately what I want to do. I want to sell a quality product as well. I want people to be very happy with the VSU that I'm selling of the Golden Child. I want people like you to be on YouTube saying how awesome it is, but I also
Yeah.
want to sell maximal number of units because that's how I feed my children and pay for my mortgage and stuff like that. So I think both things can be good, but I
Well,
think
and
maybe
if you have that inventory on your site, and so people hear me talk about it,
mhm,
if I say, well, it's already sold out, now they have no reason to go to your site if that's the main thing they're looking for. But
yeah,
if it's there and you have that inventory in stock, they can
mhm.
go and see it. And when they're there, they might say, oh, look at this too. Look at
Yeah,
this too.
that certainly works, especially during sales, because they had that
Yeah.
halfway to Black Friday sale just recently, and I was going to buy Dirty Work. Like, Dirty Work was selling out, and I wanted to get a copy of the limited edition of Dirty Work. If I bought nothing else, if I bought one thing during the halfway to Black Friday sale, it was gonna be the limited edition copy of Dirty Work. But, as you know, like, Amityville Horror on 4K with a slipcover for $22.50. Yes, I love a deal, and they hooked me, and I wound up buying 15 titles because it's like, well, they're cheap. They're $17 for a Blu-ray or $22 for a Vinegar Syndrome 4K with a slipcover. It becomes a no-brainer, and so, yeah, you can draw people in with a full price because I paid full price for Dirty Work. I didn't get a deal on that. Golden Child, you can draw people in to pay full price for a premium release like a VSU like that, and people will stick around during a sale and buy some other things. They'll buy those sale titles, just like you said. I think it's great business because people aren't going back to their website for the keep. It sold out too fast. It's almost better
Yeah.
business to sell more units over a longer period of time and have that as a
Yep.
draw to bring people into the website and see some of the other daily deals or whatever they have. So that might be
By
smarter
the
business.
way, it is Creepshow is 32.99 on Orbit, and so is Lost in Space, and The Good, the Bad, and the Weird is 38.99. So a full like $7 almost cheaper on
Yeah,
that one. And then
that's
they have the
awesome.
UK titles up too, which the big difference is a couple of Blu-rays, Deadstream, a horror movie, and The Woods, a horror movie. So that one is that is I haven't seen Deadstream is relatively new. It's kind of like a found footage documentary
Yeah,
style.
yeah. Hence the
I haven't
stream.
seen.
Like, it's not like a creek. It's not like a small body of water. It's like
No,
a
he's like
stream isn't like
yeah,
what we're
he's like
doing.
a you he's like a
Yeah.
YouTuber, like going to a haunted place or something.
There have to be a
Um,
dozen like low budget movies about some, streaming, some asshole on Twitch who, stumbles into the Blair Witch Project or some shit. It feels like that's kind of low hanging
yeah,
fruit.
there's got to be a lot of those. Now the other one is set in 1965, New England area, and it has Bruce Campbell in it and Rachel Nichols. And it looks like a kind of a witch movie.
Yeah.
So from 2006.
Yes, it was.
So that
Blair Witch was filmed in Maryland. Good morning, Becca. How are you? I hope you're enjoying your coffee this morning. It's
Hey
almost
Becca.
lunchtime though. It's almost early. It's
I
almost late enough
know.
for you to
I
have
know.
coffee.
I gotta go in a minute. I gotta go to the
Yeah.
park, man. I'm
I
Hollywood Studios today.
You do gotta go. I don't wanna hold you up from your day of fun at Disney. I appreciate you joining. I'm gonna wrap it
Man.
up here soon too, because I've got some, like, life stuff to attend to. I've got a class and some work and stuff like that to attend to for my internship that's ongoing. So, I gotta go be
I
a
know,
professional here.
isn't it crappy when real life comes in? I'm gonna try to
It
go
is.
back live. I'm probably gonna go live on Tuesday for the syndrome, but they're doing it because man, they're dropping new stuff each day, and they're
Yeah.
not dropping the VSU on the first day. They're dropping it on the second day.
They
So I'm
are,
like,
yeah, they're spreading out those releases. I think they're gonna do instead of making everything 50% off all at once, I think they're gonna do what they did during the RAD sale and do a little bit of, like,
yeah,
daily deals. Here's a couple of
yeah.
deals
So
today, and
that kind of opens the door for you to go like live any day you want to on it because everything is
yeah,
going to be different on it.
yeah.
So
It
um,
almost invites you to sort of wait till the end and then cover all the new releases at once.
Yeah,
a
that's
single video.
probably I may do that as
Yeah.
well. Might just do it that way.
Like, you wanna get it when it's still, like, brand new, like we did today. Like, I was excited about what's Arrow gonna release, although we were right about Creepshow. Let's pat ourselves on the back. We were correct about Creepshow too. It feels good to be right, and it feels good to remind everybody watching that we were right. We're smart people. We know what's happening. We were right, and anybody who doubted us, I don't think anybody here did, but anybody out there who doubted us can suck it. We were right and they were wrong. So that feels good to say out loud.
That
And,
does. It
so
really does.
I will thank you for joining me. I will also, we're at about an hour and a half anyway, which is probably about a half hour longer than I expected to go, but excellent conversation as always. And you guys in the chat, like, thank you for hanging out. Chronologic, if you got to get out of Maryland, if you're just like FMD, dude, I will tell you, I'll vouch for the state of Maine. Georgia's a nice place too. I wouldn't move into Atlanta. I would try to live somewhere like around Atlanta.
Oh, yeah, no, not Atlanta.
Yeah, but Maine is also a nice state. New England is very welcoming, and the temperature is more moderate. You may have visited, so just get the hell out of MD for a little while, maybe Chronologic. You're always welcome in some finer state in the land. So, um, BMG, thanks for hanging out. John Doe Juggalo, send me them nudes, and everybody else, man, take it easy. Have a great afternoon. Have a lovely Friday and a lovely weekend. Uh, We'll see you later on. Deuces.
Bye-bye.
Oh, there's a cat. Why do you have a cat?
Yeah,
You're in a hotel. You brought the
yeah,
cat?
he
Oh,
yeah, he
wow.
came with
Hey,
us.
I was like, I recognize that cat. I've met that cat before, very briefly. Cool. All right. Well, drive safe later today too, buddy. Okay, because you'll be alone. Have
I
some
will, man.
coffee. Stay awake.
Ready to go.
Drive safe. Peace, everybody.
Bye-bye.